An actual gold standard, the end of the dollar, whether or not all of that's actually even in play. That's what this one is about. Should be fun. So 2 weeks ago, I made a video about the story of the Russian gold standard, and that was making the rounds. And the bottom line was that the ruble was never really pegged to gold. Gold was actually pegged to the ruble, only in Russia. So it's kind of an inverse gold standard without any convertibility. So Russian gold producers were given the option to sell their gold for a fixed amount of paper rubles to the Russian central bank. And in a lot of ways, that shored up the short-term value of the ruble. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly how much that played into the ruble's comeback, but it clearly played a part. Now, regardless though, Russia has since abandoned that fixed price that the central bank was willing to pay. That happened April 7th. So as of April 8th, that inverted gold peg is no longer in play. The larger story, though, of how this was a pivot away from the US dollar as the dominant currency is still interesting. Now, Russia is still trying to get European countries to pay for natural gas imports in rubles. And that's likely to have a bigger impact than the inverted gold peg because it would increase the demand for the ruble. Even if that demand was simply a short-term conversion, it would mean that these other nations were now sharing in the currency risk. And it looks like there are other sanctions that are aiming at that convertibility. And I'm not going to name names here, but there are nations trying to make it harder to convert currencies to ruble and back again. So this is not a one-way street. The ruble could still be in for more trouble. And I think the point here is that the idea that the dollar is done, or even that its dominant role is imminently doomed, is a leap. That's a strange leap also when it's coming from people who would stand to lose from that outcome. But that isn't new around here. People will always stand up on the podium and yell that the end is near just to get some more attention. So I wanted to put this video out to give an update on what's happening with that supposed gold standard, but also to make the point that a lot of the moonshot theories for gold, not all, but a lot, hinge on some kind of actual demise of paper money. So I'm not making this to shut down the gold standard idea. I'm making a point. Gold is not going up because of some gold standard in Russia or the looming collapse of the dollar. It's actually going up despite those things not happening, despite Russia doing a 180 on their fixed gold price buying announcement, and despite a relatively strong dollar. That's important. Now, in terms of buying gold, I think that you'd buy differently if you thought the dollar was going away, you thought that that was inevitable and near. You would buy differently than you would if you simply recognized someone somewhere wants the dollar to go away. You wouldn't scramble to pay high premiums on top of high spot price at times when you might need cash for other things if you saw the news as something that someone somewhere wants. And all of that comes down to the way that the news is presented. It's clear that some people want those things. Some people want the dollar to go away. It's not clear how far down the road any of that is. So I see gold as a longer term play. And I think over the last few years, we've seen events that none of us have expected. They have given us real examples of why you might need gold. But I still think it's a long play. I've stacked the recent events, the examples, on top of the reasons that I already have for buying. And I have sped up my buying, but not so much that I'm ignoring premiums at spot price and just scrambling to buy whatever I can. I'm not running around putting things on credit cards to pay down sometime in the future. I don't really see any of this as a traditional investment. I'm not buying it expecting a moonshot, but let me give two stats to shed some light on gold's performance before I shut this video down. First of all, gold is up 8.4% year to date. Now, some people like to contend that gold should be doing more than that. But increasing rates are not good for gold. The Russian invasion is driving it up. And at some point, though, we're going to see some of that invasion premium come off. It's going to retrace a bit. But if you think that it's underperforming, take a look at the second stat. Take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down 14.7% year to date. I think that both assets will continue to go up over time. I think they'll go on different paths because they're just not similar at all. But I think it's interesting that gold has increased 8.5%, while Bitcoin has dropped almost 15%. Now, one of those two assets is a good hedge against bad things, and it's not Bitcoin. I would say again that if you want to balance things out, you shouldn't be in on only one thing, but that's up to you. So if we put all of this together, here's what I'd say. So we aren't seeing a gold standard being implemented in Russia. We don't have actual proof of the dollar's demise, nothing in terms of a tangible turning point at least. But there are a lot of recent events giving us things to think about. I think that's maybe even an understatement. And we're seeing what gold can do even without that complete meltdown, even without those actual events that we thought we needed for that moonshot. I think it's doing pretty well without all of that. I don't really need a Mad Max world personally for metals to make sense. I think it makes pretty good sense already. Okay, so let's call it good there. Drop a comment to let us know what you think. Maybe it's about that gold standard. Maybe it's about whether or not you're buying for a Mad Max event. I don't know. Maybe you're here for the in-between stuff like me. But while you're there, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with that notification bell turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.